Mergers and acquisitions in the media industries are nothing new. It's actually been a constant in many ways, but it usually happens at a plodding pace. The industry as a whole grows in spurts, and competition is born out of those mergers, because under the free market structure, the larger companies get slower and the new upstarts gain ground. And those that don't actually get acquired by one of the bigger companies actually usually survive to acquire somebody else. It's been like that for a long time, as I said before. But right now, something seems to have changed. Let's take a look at that and what is likely to happen because of it in the future. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, hiss and foes, welcome to the Culture Casino!
It's really important to understand that there's nothing new here. Publicly traded companies have access to large lines of credit and funding mechanisms that allow for the acquisition of their smaller rivals. Federal law in the United States is supposed to strictly limit these practices as to avoid the creation of a trust or monopoly. And monopolies are not a lot of fun because they stifle competition and put immense power into the hands of a very few people. This is very bad for the economy, and all of those, of course, who are participating in said economy. Worse than that, it limits choice, and it creates stagnation in innovation. So as you can see, it seems pretty bad. Now, when an entity virtually eliminates all of its competitors, it has to be broken down again into very small pieces, preferably. In my lifetime, actually, the biggest example of this was the breakup of AT&T into multiple competing entities. Mind you, this took 4 separate attempts by the federal government that actually culminated in the complete breakup in 1984. AT&T eventually went on to absorb 1 or 2 of those broken off companies, as did Verizon and CenturyLink, as they acquired other pieces over time. So for now, there are some competitors to AT&T. But we'll talk about AT&T a little bit more later. In the 1980s, weird things started to happen. In 1982, Coca-Cola purchased Columbia Pictures, only to then resell it to Sony in 1989. In Coca-Cola's 7 years of stewardship, they released some very popular films, and they increased the company's value by 2.5 times. In fact, they sold it to Sony for $3.4 billion. Then, in the 1990s, things started to ramp up in the crazy. Warner and Time decided to merge, then merge again later with Turner Broadcasting. Universal changes hands twice, ending up with Vivendi, and Viacom buys Paramount and then Blockbuster. Westinghouse buys CBS and then changes its name to CBS while selling off all of its light bulb and power stuff. And then, of course, Viacom buys CBS. Wow. Now, we get to the 2000s and the insanity kicked into a different gear. AOL buys Time Warner. Huge. Then Vivendi goes absolutely nuts and buys USA Networks and combines everything into NBC Universal. Comcast then grabs AT&T Broadband, eventually buying NBC Universal, essentially Vivendi, in 2 big chunks. And very recently, of course, in the last 5 years, Disney buys Fox. Comcast, as a result of that, ends up with Sky, and AT&T buys and then sells Warner Media. AT&T, of course, buys and then sells off part of DirecTV, and rounding all of this out recently, of course, other than the merger with Discovery and Warner Media, you have Amazon acquiring MGM. Now we're all caught up. And here's the thing. Most analysts see several additional mergers in the coming years. One of the reasons is the barriers to these consolidations seem to be being ignored, and they seem to have been being ignored for a while, which isn't good for consumers. The results, of course, are going to be further mergers that will not yield quality content or innovation because the corporatization of media yields sterilized, bland products. I'm sure you can agree. This seems to happen every time you have something that turns into something very large. You get homogenization, and it gets very boring and it's not good. As I mentioned earlier, under these circumstances, the market would allow for the new upstarts to rise and reap the rewards. But because the content delivery and distribution are now controlled by these mega corporations, there will likely be limited or no options for us to see these new ideas be brought to market. As consumers, we should be very concerned, and we should be pointing our fingers at this and many other problems that exist in the rise of these corporate monoliths that are peddling a future of monoculture at this point, full of ideological agenda that is, I don't know, not good for our way of life here in this country or anywhere else in the world that values freedom. But we'll set that aside for now and just say the paths for Sony, Lionsgate, and many others need to be ones of independence and expansion. And we really need more options right now, not less. However, there is a problem, and it's a big one. It's called Netflix, and they're looking to acquire another company right now. That someone is going to be Sony, Lionsgate, or believe it or not, Viacom CBS. Viacom CBS is an absolute beast with a low market cap compared to what it's worth if you carved it up into some pieces and sold it off that way. Instead of taking advantage of Viacom CBS by raiding it, like I just described, Netflix would now have a permanent link to TV and major film production, which would add juice to the pipeline that they already have. If I get any inkling of this actually, going to happen, I'm going to throw a bunch of money at that investment really, really quickly. Regardless, the point is we have not seen the end of this consolidation, even in this year, or I don't think in the near future. And I don't think we're going to see it slowing down anytime soon. In fact, I would say we will probably return to the days of old when we only had 5 major studios that controlled everything. Anyway, this is the part of the video where I say, what do you think? Do you think we're going to end up with additional mergers and acquisitions leading to larger and larger corporations that essentially will create boredom? I think so. Do you think that it's likely that Netflix could acquire Viacom CBS? Well, after the Amazon deal with MGM, nothing would surprise me. And finally, do you agree that we should start talking to our government officials about some antitrust violations, or perhaps taking a closer look at a lot of these mergers? I think we should. Anyway, thanks for watching the video today. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for all of your support. To those of you that are subscribers and members, an additional thank you as well. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. If you are not subscribed, I would appreciate that. Other than that, be sure to share out the video or comment down below because it helps with the algorithm. Of course, be sure to support other independent creators on the platform as they are really not getting their due. They're being beaten out by, of course, the mainstream media folks on this platform instead of being recommended to you. So pick out 4, 5, 10, 20 of your favorite creators and lend them your support by watching a video, leaving a comment, and hitting a like or two along the way. I will end this the way I always do and say this: be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, wash your hands, of course, because it's good hygiene. And until next time, bye.
Hey there, one last quick note before I let you go, and before we make it to the end of this video. I, Culture Casino, have a brand new Teespring store. That's right, you can now go to Teespring, look up Culture Casino, or use the link in the video below, and pick out some handsome and beautiful Culture Casino merchandise with many different designs and styles and colors, many different items. I was actually surprised at all of the things that you could create, and I have some more designs and items on the way here shortly. But, if you want to support the channel in that way, there is some merch. Otherwise, here comes the ending. Thanks for visiting today. Be sure you're subscribed and hit that for alerts.
Yay!
Of course, like and share all of the videos that you can as it helps with the algorithm. Have a great day.